Okay, after it was determined that our radius should be 0.2, because that's the radius on the opening in the passenger section. Now we've got to create that second little rectangle. And you say, people ask, what's the second little rectangle? And it is because there's a thickness to this rectangle. There's two rectangles there. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the first one to create the second one. And we're going to use what's called the offset tool. And the offset tool is right here. And if you mouse over it, it'll show you what it does. It'll give you an idea of what we're going to do with our rectangle. So you select it, and now you just click on this rectangle here that we've already created. And we've now got to put in a thickness. We already determined that the thickness of this plastic was 0.05. It was via the schematics. So now I've got this rectangle that has already been rounded off and offset to 0.05 inches. Now we're not done because there's more details here that we've got to include. And these little nubs can be a pain in the rear. You see there's 4 of them on these two sides, and there's 1 each on the front and back. So it's 2, 2, 1, and 1. And if we scroll over here, it gives us a little more accurate, a better picture of what those nubs should look like. So we know they come out from the plastic at 0.044 inches, and then that they are 0.05 inches wide. So we're going to have to make little rectangles along these edges. We're going to go rectangle. I'm going to start on this surface right here. So I know it's supposed to be 0.05 wide and 0.044 tall there. The reason I've got to include all these nubs on here is because when we're going to extrude it, we want one full profile to extrude. But we're going to need to put all of the nubs on there, and we got to space them correctly. So those 2 lines still being green means they've got to be spaced, they've got to be dimensioned. And so how far away is that first nub there? Right here, it says 0.95 to the front line, to the leading edge there. Yeah, 0.95. And that is from the front line. Now we've got some good purple rectangles. We're going to need to do the same thing over here. Okay, 0.05 wide, 0.044 tall. How far away is that one? That one is 1.94. Okay, now there's a couple of ways we can do the other side here. One way I like to do it is using the mirror tool. And the mirror tool is another thing you haven't learned yet, but it's pretty handy. We can use the mirror tool, and we can reflect what we have onto another side of what's called a mirror line. So we have to draw a mirror line first, which is easy enough. You just go to line, but we don't want this to be part of our geometry. We want this to be what's called a construction line. So I'm going to go over here and choose construction. Now this line, I'm going to start in the center of each and go across to the other center. So I've just created a mirror line that I'll be able to use to reflect these two rectangles onto the other side. So there's the mirror pattern tool. You can kind of see what that does. So first, I'm going to select what it is we're going to mirror. So we want to select these three lines of the rectangle. And I'm holding down Control so that I can select multiple. Okay, so I've got all three of those and all three of those. Now I'm going to go click Mirror Line. I'm going to select the mirror line of that, hit Apply, and if I look up here, hit Done, I've got the nubs are up here now too. So those are all complete. We're going to eventually have to trim out some spots there, but that's okay. But now we need the nubs on the front and the back. So I'm going to go do another rectangle. And I need it to span across this center line. I'm going to use this center line again. I need it to span across it. I'm not exactly sure where it should start. So I'm going to start just barely on one side and bring it to barely on the other side. Again, I know it's supposed to, this one is supposed to be 0.044 in width this time, and 0.05 height. And then I made the mistake I often do of creating it in construction lines. So I can change I can select those and turn off construction. And now they're back to how they should be. So now we need to dimension this to here to make those lines turn purple. So I'm going to click on that line and then this construction, my little center line, and it should be 0.025 exactly. It's going to be half of this one. So you could say this, which is D60 divided by 2. That works. Okay. Now we can use the mirror tool to reflect this over to here again, or it's probably just as easy to go ahead and draw another one on this back side. 0.044, 5. Mention this to this. Since it locked in with the other dimension, I'm going to say I want to click on this one, which is D63 divided by 2. Now we'll lock that in. So now I've got all the nubs in place. Last thing I want to do is I need to trim off some spaces in here so this all creates one profile. So if I use the trim tool is pretty handy. I come in here and I click that, and things turn green, and that worries some people. But I tell them as long as it was once blue, you're all right. If it was once all blue, which it was, or purple, then you're going to be okay. Your dimensions are not going to be wrong. Some of them have to be just deleted. But I need to open up this profile so that it is all one continuous loop. Some of them have to be deleted instead of trimmed.